I got a question for you to think about regarding prayer. What if the very next prayer was answered? This next one, the one that you're going to pray next, God gave you the answer.
Stephen, have you ever given up on something right before you would have gotten whatever it is that you wanted?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like more than once? The way you answered that, you were like, oh yeah, 1,000 times, because I've done it too many times. And it's so frustrating to look back and realize.
Yeah, and there's probably some I didn't even realize that I gave up and I never knew if they'd pan out or not. But you cut your losses and you give up.
Right. And maybe you'll never know, but what if, you just kept going? I'm always thinking that, like, well, what if I just try one more time? Like, what if I just do it again? What if this is the time that it succeeds? I remember running a 5K, which I don't do anymore because I'm not a runner and that's just not for me. But I ran a 5K maybe 2 or 3 times. And second or third time, I was at the last leg of it, last little bit. And 5Ks aren't even long. Like, there's going to be runners watching this that are going to make fun of me for this, but it's fine. I'm just going to put myself out there because we're all, we're supposed to love each other. So hopefully they won't make fun of me too much. But I was getting towards the very last bit, and it was this last hill, and I didn't know this, though, because this is a new course, whatever track. Well, I don't know what they call it.
They always put the hill at the finish line.
I know, and you're going to go up this hill, up a little bit more to the left, and then back. And it's almost like a U-turn to get to the finish line. But see, I don't know any of this. It's in a city that I don't live in. And so I run up this hill, and I just can't get up this hill. Like, I know it. My legs are giving out. And so I walk the last quarter of the hill. I know it's embarrassing. Y'all are going to make fun of me. It's okay. Make fun of me in the comments. It's all good. So I walked the last quarter of the hill, and then when I realized where I was after I turned the corner, I was like, oh, why did I just quit? Like, why did I just stop running? And so I kicked it back into gear and finished. And I was so frustrated. I knew a friend, was friends with a guy who dropped out of college 1 credit away from graduating. Man. Isn't that brutal?
My OCD wouldn't let me do that.
Oh, he's 1 course away from graduating, and now he's doing fine. Yes, he's still technically a college dropout, but he's doing fine for himself. It's not like he's in some bad situation because of that. But at the time, me and all my friends, we were all like, dude, no, what are you doing? Like, you're one class. Just take this 1 class and pass it, and you're good, and you graduate, you get the degree. But right before he was getting ready to get what he wanted, right before he had, all this work, he stopped. Same with me running that 5K. That's why I asked you that question.
I get it if you don't understand the finish line's right around the corner. I get that. Walking, AKA stopped running, is really what it is.
Yeah.
You stopped running.
It was a stop running is what it was.
But, not finishing when you know that it's right there after how far you come. That's a little different, but... Yeah, I think it's difficult when you've been going so long, and we're talking about prayer. So you've been praying so long, and how long do you keep praying? When's the breakthrough coming? When's that finish line of that answered
and not just
prayer?
even duration as much as it is consistency. When it's like for the same thing, and it seems like it's not being answered. It seems like whatever that thing is you're asking for consistently over and over, you're not having the response that you're hoping for. Or you're not seeing the answer to it, and sometimes the solution is just one more prayer. Like, it was just one more time. All you need to do is pray one more. And I think about, especially with that example of the race, had I known the finish line was there, I certainly would not have done that. No chance. I would have quit halfway up that hill. But I didn't know. And so I guess this is kind of the podcast where we say, hey, the finish line's ahead. Just it's a warning. It's almost like you almost need markers along the way in prayer to say, hey, this is a mile marker point to know you're almost there. To realize just keep praying, keep being persistent, keep persevering. I think that's a helpful almost visual to put in our minds as we think about prayer.
It's one of the most encouraging things someone told me recently. Shout out to Jacob Gray. He told me this recently, and he says, I've heard him say it to other people as they're just driving along. He says, you're doing better than you think you are. When you're really discouraged, I don't think you've seen how far you're coming or what's all been done, and the effort that's been made.
Right.
And I mean, that's encouraging, but the finish. I think that I remember seeing an illustration of, someone digging for gold, and it showed all the progress that they had made.
Right.
They were just making a lot of progress, and they stopped and turned around right at the end. But we can see that the gold was just
on that one more strike away.
No, don't stop now.
Yeah, I remember seeing. I think it was. Maybe it wasn't Facing the Giants, but it was some football movie, like kind of cheesy football movie like that. And this dude is supposed to do this army crawl across the entire field as punishment, and he's got to do it carrying someone on his back. And as he's looking down, you know the scene I'm talking about in the movie?
Titans?
No, I don't. I think it was a newer movie. And Remember the Titans is kind of an older one. Denzel's like real young in that movie. But anyways, whatever it was, this guy's like crawling, and he doesn't realize he's only supposed to do it a certain amount of time, but he goes all the way through the other end zone, and all the other players are shocked that he's able to. He has no idea. Though. It's like that same idea. Like
it was a Christian movie.
Was it? Was it a Christian movie? Man, I'm exposing myself today.
I was thinking Little Giants, like the old.
Little Giants. Yeah. Me and my family used to watch that when I was a kid. But anyways, it was prayer. It was just right prayer, like squirrel. We just went on a rabbit trail. There's all a point to this, where he didn't have any idea how far along he was, because he was just looking down. He could just see the blades of grass as he was like sweating this thing out. But all the other players, all the people around him, almost like what Jacob told you, it's like, man, you're doing way better than you think you are. Like when all you're focused on is what's right here, you could easily get discouraged, but you don't know you're just one more push away, one more prayer away, one more opportunity away. And so as we're thinking about prayer, I thought of this in Daniel 10. You're shouting out Jacob Gray and your men's group, although he might have told you that some other time, but I know he's been in your group before. I'm shouting out my men's group too. Go to in Daniel chapter 10. We did Daniel this past season in my men's group, and I got to Daniel chapter 10 in this Bible, which is you may can tell if you're watching this that it's pretty old and tattered. I've used this for quite some time, and I got to verse 12 of Daniel chapter 10, and I realized, there's an underline here. But I didn't underline it like when we were studying Daniel with my men's group. It was just like I stumbled upon it when it was time to start reading Daniel chapter 10. And I was like, ooh, past Matthew thought this was really good. So like I was excited to get to it. And this is what it says. It's the angel Gabriel talking to Daniel. And it says, "Fear not, Daniel, for from the first day that you set your heart to understand and humbled yourself before your God, your words have been heard, and I have come because of your words." And that to me, that's somebody looking at you and saying, you're doing better than you think you are. Like you're a lot further along than you think. Just keep going. Because he looks at Daniel and he says, from the first day, man, from that first prayer you prayed about that situation, God was hearing it. From the first day that you set your heart to understand, from the first day you humbled yourself before God in prayer, from the very first day your words were heard. Now it took Gabriel a while to get there and answer this prayer that Daniel had, but he wants to let him know it was from the first day. Like it may not have come right away, but it was heard. It was something that was recognized. You're doing a lot better than you think you are. And I think that was a lot super encouraging for me to read that and to see that and go, okay, from the very first day. But then not only that, but it also teaches that the angel Gabriel came because of your words. He says at the very end of verse 12, it's the very end, I have come because of your words. It's like, man, what if Daniel had just given up? What if he was so into this prayer for a few years or a few weeks or, a few days, whatever it was. And then he decided, man, I'm not getting anything. I'm not getting anywhere. Haven't heard back. So I'm just going to give up. Yeah. And little did he know he was just one more prayer away from Gabriel being like, okay, now I'm going, And so it's just kind of that encouragement for us to keep pushing forward and keep praying, even in those situations where it looks the darkest, it looks the gloomiest, it looks like, man, there's no way that one's going to come true because I've been praying for this for years and had nothing. And now it's like, hey, keep going. You never know when that breakthrough, so to speak, is going to happen.
Yeah. Prayer is a lifestyle. I don't even want to say it's a marathon. It should be for life,
right?
And it goes on. And if it's important, we keep on praying until God gives us an answer. And a lot of times God's doing something in us throughout the process,
right?
And a lot more progress has been made when you zoom out and you can see how far you've gone and what God's done in the current situation. But yeah, it's a huge encouragement to think about the things that I've been praying for. What if they were answered tomorrow? Like the hope in that,
right?
Like. Or what if I knew that it was 30 more prayers away?
Or if you could see that red thermometer building up, like, would you keep going? Right?
Yeah. Or just one prayer away. There's power in that. And we're supposed to pray in faith. And it's not to say, well, I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow. So, but I'm going to pray as if it does, and that God would do this now.
Yeah. So I mean, man, the encouragement for us today is good. This is a good day. Some days are a little bit harder. Maybe we're talking about confessing sin or something that just kind of doesn't feel quite as good. Man, this is an encouraging one where you get to look at God's word and see it.
Yeah. I'd say go back and think about the prayers that you've dropped and not continue praying for. Like, pick
That's
those
a great
back
idea,
up.
right?
Like, I hope you write your prayer requests down. That way you can kind of go back and see. Like, I love to keep mine in my phone so I can go back and see.
Right.
But listen, like, maybe there's some things we need to pick up that we've given up on. Like, they're still in the game.
Yeah,
still in the game, right?
It's like, man, I can't
You've
believe
given up
it.
on praying about that relationship, about this situation going on, about your finances, about whatever it is in at work or your marriage or your kids or just your personal self, sin struggles, and you just set that aside, and you haven't prayed for that in a while.
So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep praying. I mean, I love this encouragement. It's a great way to close us out today, where he says, man, Daniel, I've come because of your words. So that's the encouragement to keep going, like you're talking about, Stephen. Just keep pressing forward. Go. Maybe it's something you do need to pick up that you've dropped off and be like, no, I'm going to go back to that prayer. But then also he says from the very first day. So man, from the very first day you started praying that prayer that you think God didn't hear and didn't answer, God heard it. God still hears it. If we keep persevering in prayer, we'll see an answer to it. So today, let's lean in, maybe picking up some old prayers from the past or continuing to persevere in those we're praying today, leaning into prayer and asking God to do miraculous things in us, through us, and for His glory.